So, welcome to first and second grade. We love having these sweethearts in our classes for the most part. It's a lot of fun. We just put up a slide about whole child because we really do try to incorporate all those elements of whole child. The physical movement with brain breaks and recess. We do with our service learning, environmental education, and of course, challenging the kids academically. Every morning we have our circle time, and then every afternoon we have our advocacy time. And so our upcoming themes for advocacy are listed. Right now we're doing empathy, and this week kindness, of course. In March, we're looking forward to doing mindfulness. In April, social awareness and spending a week on Earth Week. And in May, we're looking forward to teaching the kids about self-care. My other teammates here too.
Learning all the buttons. Sorry there, Miss Reader. If you don't mind, I just wanted to pop in with this one. Again, with the presentation, we tried to make it as friendly as possible. So if you have any questions for us along the way, please feel free to interrupt. We just wanted to start with understanding as far as how important advocacy is. And that kind of ran into the fun run. That was an area in which we were able to allow the kids to truly have fun with each other, have that energy, and make sure that they were giving themselves those kind words and building them up. This was an area in which we were, of course, able to enjoy with specials, but it was something that the kids truly took ownership of. Parties. This was one that we really wanted to come because everybody knows you have the kids party when they're in first and second grade. They're having that wonderful stuff. But again, this was an important area with advocacy because this is something in which the kids truly have that social interaction with each other and feel like the big kids. They're not only having the movie room, which is kind of that, special time, but there's also going to be the areas in which they are reading books together. They're going to make sure that they have the special coloring time together. And in my room, we always have those wonderful crafts that they're building something and being able to say to themselves that, ooh, look what I did. So the parties are truly a special time for us. It's time to simply celebrate. Do you want to take this, Reader, or can I?
I thought, or Koenig, somebody.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Koenig. I'm the new addition of this year. So tomorrow, first and second grade are, Mrs. Hamilton and Mrs. Foley Diaz are going to Future Murphy Company, and Mrs. Rita and I are going to Future Ford. I'm actually very excited about this. I've never done this before. It's my first year. So I'm nervous and excited at the same time. I know the kids had a lot of fun making the cards. They were like putting stickers and hearts, and they took their time decorating. They're very excited. And so tomorrow we're going to those two companies and deliver our cards, and then we'll come back, and then we'll have a regular day after lunch. But they are very excited to be walking. First of all, they feeling like big kids and just showing our appreciation for the community, because that's one of the things we talk about also in advocacy, how you are part of community and you're important. And so you need to do your part, other people do their parts, and together we can do better all the time. Our book buddies, fifth and sixth graders, they come every Wednesday. That is also a very exciting thing for our kiddos. I feel like in the beginning they were a little nervous about it, but now they see their bodies and they're so happy every Wednesday. And they, like, even in the morning when we talk about what's going on during the day, they're like, oh, today's book buddy, our buddies are coming. They are so excited. So they come and read with us. When it's nice outside, we can go outside and they read the books. And if you go to the next slide, Mrs. Reader, they are starting to write a little story. And so they work together writing stories, and they did the characters and the setting and the problem and the solution. And those stories are amazing. They have such great minds. I was so excited to read some of them. And I think they're gonna, yeah, they're showing showcase later in the year. Okay, yeah.
All right, Miss Charlie comes and visits each of our classrooms throughout the school year. She schedules time for us to go out to the coop or out to the goats. Sometimes she comes in and reads books or gives us a lesson that relates to environmental education. She's amazing. We are so fortunate to have her. She is very thoughtful about what she chooses for our kids and tries to align them with the standards, which we always appreciate, but also she makes that time very engaging and fun for the kids, and they just really look forward to it. We get some scheduled coop time. I said this to my own children. They thought I said something very different than coop. Coop time, where we get to go out to the chicken coop, and if the kids can get their hands on a chicken, they get to hold them. They look for eggs. They have learned how to identify the chickens, which ones are which. They've learned all about eggs and the life cycle of the chicken. But Miss Charlie also does some things in the classroom, such as bringing in Opal, her albino corn snake, who is very friendly, and letting the kids touch Opal and see her, teaching us all about snakes. Recently, she's done some recycling lessons with our classes, just reinforcing what can be recycled and what can't. And these kids can tell you. And so I hope when they come home, they're saying like, Dad, you can't put that in the recycling because it has a silver lining. She also has piloted the Zero Waste Wednesday program and zero waste lessons. And she has a whole team of older kids that come in to check lunches. And then our students get stamps on their hand as a little reward if they can identify which items in their lunch can be recycled if they have any, and then if they have no waste at all. That's been great. And then this year, she started us on the No Worksheet Wednesdays, which helps save paper throughout the school year and provides the kids with some really fun learning opportunities that teachers might not have thought of without that little push. Our service learning project this year with Miss Charlie is we've been learning about animals and animal shelters, which is just a continuation of what we learned last year. And so for the second graders we have this year, who were our first graders last year, they're building on that knowledge. And for our current first graders, they are also getting that information for the first time. And so this year we've learned about vet care. We've learned about how to approach animals, what an animal shelter is, what all animals need to survive, and how to help keep our pets safe so that they don't escape and then become an abandoned pet or a pet that gets picked up and taken to a shelter. And then because Miss Charlie is just so amazingly intentional and thoughtful, she created a service learning project for us this year that ties in with the 5th and 6th grade project. So 5th and 6th grade service learning is us, the book buddies. They're coming in and helping our students practice reading. And so she's combined our service learning with animal shelters and the 5th and 6th grade service learning, which is helping our kids. And she's come up with a project where we will have the Tales for Tales Dumb Friends League come, and they'll be bringing in some dogs to our classrooms, and the students will be able to sit and read a book out loud to the dogs. And so we haven't mentioned this to our students yet because it's still about another month away, but I think they're just going to love it. They're going to have so much fun with that. And I think it just blends so many things that we've been working on all throughout the school year and even carrying on from last year. I'm just thrilled with what a great idea it is. Ms. Foley-Diaz, did you want to talk about field trips?
Oh, I love to talk about everything, but the field trips are something that has been one of those exciting things for kids that we've been able to not only think of those adventures to get that break away from the true classroom, but to simply continue our learning. Each area has been chosen for a reason so that it does come in correlation with how we are providing our lessons in the classroom. I'll go to the botanical gardens there at the end for an example, as far as with both classes or both grades, excuse me, that's the time in which we're going to be dealing with plants. And so it truly allows the kids to not only have that information, but to go out and see it in the real world and then be able to say, oh, this is something I see in another area, in another area. And it's just something that's going to be that continuous learning, so to say. We did have a fun, Miss Reader, would you mind going to the next slide for me?
Sorry.
Thank you very much. We had so much fun with the second graders going on this particular zoo trip because it was one that was the secret science day. So this was a true investigation for the kids. They were the zoologists. They were able to see exactly how the animals are being cared for, as well as, different adventures that they could go into as far as their ideas and things that was coming into the zoo in the future. So it was a fun day. And this, I want to give a call out for Miss Charlie, because this was also something that she was able to provide for our kids with this idea. And because I'm speaking with Miss Charlie and going to go off on another tangent, I'm thinking of that continuous education that we're doing. And Miss Charlie actually did that for us in literacy. She allowed our kids to write about her snake Opal. And that's just another way, as far as that example of how Westgate is not just one pod, but we all work together. Sorry for the tangent. Ms. Reader, would you mind going to the next slide?
Yep.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is stuff that is coming up, and we're very fortunate as far as with the spring weather, being able to do a little more things on the outdoor side. In a week, I'm thinking of our date. Yeah, it's a week. We're going to be going to see Frog and Toad. This is a fun one, simply because we get to see the theater itself and then go in and see the play. So the kids will have kind of a behind the scenes and getting ideas as far as how not only are we having that story, but it comes into action. And then the 4 Mile Park fits right with our social studies and the history. And again, Botanic Gardens right there with our science. And upcoming, I think Ms. Hamilton did this on purpose because she knows that I want to talk about everything. With social studies and science, it's very nice the way that we have our quarters set up. We're going to have our literacy and math in the morning. Then in the afternoon, we'll have, joy of reading. And then we get a switch. We'll start with social studies, and then we can switch over to science. And so the kids truly get a focus in those areas, kind of take a bite out of the information, so to say. When it comes to social studies coming up for third quarter, it just had the economics. So going into fourth quarter, this is the fun part. This is where it's the history. And this is something that the kids get to kind of look at that timeline. We're going to make sure that the kids get to sit down and create their own. So not only are we going to be doing the research, but we learn about something, and then the kids are going to be able to apply it to their own lives. They'll understand that, yes, there's a timeline in history and then where they are, and then start to look at things of what could be in the future. Would you mind going to that next slide, Ms. Reader? Thank you so much for pushing all the buttons. This is science. For third quarter that we have just begun with science, it is life science. Life science is a huge realm, so we break it into two parts. First, we're going to deal with the animals, and then in fourth quarter, we're going to be dealing with plants. Animals, of course, is going to be that cold-blooded, warm-blooded, as well as our insects. And as the quarter began, the students, as a team, got to sit down, look at the different animals, and choose which one that as a group we wanted to learn more about. And they decided they're going to do alligators. So we will go through and learn something specific, such as their eating, carnivore, herbivore, omnivore, excuse me, gather all of this information, and then we'll go back and research the animal that we chose. And so that's something that they are creating this week in Habitat. They are getting to create their image of the habitat with recycled paper. And as we continue and go over the animal itself, then they get to create the animal and put it in that habitat. So it's just a lot of fun with science. And of course, I had to, everybody knows me with my quotes, but the biggest thing that I wanted the kids to always remember that when we're in science is we never stop questioning. There's always going to be something that comes up, and we always have to try to learn more. Thank you, Miss Reader.
For science, we just started a unit Monday, no, maybe last week. I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Last week.
So we just started a unit about biodiversity, and we are talking about plants, how we grow plants, best conditions, water, light, and how plants, not all plants need soil. We will be talking about pollination really soon, this week, possibly next week. And we'll do a very fun project that you see the picture. There's a little flower with some tape. And then we're going to be doing little bees with pipe cleaners. And then we'll use cough grinds to sprinkle on the flowers, and then the bees go from flower to flower to disperse the seeds. That's a very fun experiment, very hands-on. They will love it. And that will be great when we go to the botanical gardens. We talk about the flower, the parts of the flowers, and possibly see some bees. Yeah, so that's right now. That's what we're doing right now. And then for the fourth quarter, I'll let Mrs. Reader talk about it.
In fourth quarter, we have kind of wrapped up most of our social studies and science projects. And so, units. And so we start our passion projects, and students will be creating a research project that they will pick a topic of their choice that they're passionate about, and we kind of guide them to choosing a social studies or science related topic if possible, which opens up, I mean, there's a huge variety of topics that students have chosen in the past, and they can almost everybody finds something that they're very excited about. And then they have the option of creating a trifold board, like you see in the picture, or a diorama, like you see in the picture, and they just love it. They have so much fun. There's a lot of writing involved. The students end up writing a like 4 or 5 paragraph essay, but we do it over the course of the entire quarter. So we take it 1 paragraph at a time, and we work on it per week. And we do research well in advance, and then they are able to put it all together and put it into some sort of display. Then they stand in front of the class and give a presentation about their animals, and then the rest of the class asks questions. And they answer 3 or 4 questions. And this is a great opportunity for them to not only be interested in something that they love and are passionate about, but also practice those presentation skills and talking in front of an audience, and doing some research, deep dive into a topic. We talk at Westgate about how we often do gifted education for the whole child, for every child. And this is one way that we do that. So one of the best practices in gifted education is that students are able to explore in a topic in depth of their choice. And we give this opportunity to all the students, and it ties back to our state standards as well, with research and reasoning and oral presentation skills and whatnot. And they love it. At the end of the school year, we often have the second graders write a letter to the next year's kids. And what are some things that you loved in second grade? They all say passion projects. They just really enjoy having that time to do the deep dive into their topic and then do the research and learn how to take notes and put all that information into an expository paragraph and then several paragraphs, and then make it in a way that they can present. And then during our open house at the end of the school year, we have our passion project fair, where that's where all these pictures are from, where the students can then showcase all the hard work that they've put into it, and they have the opportunity to present their passion project to their families or friends or someone else, and then everyone in our community can walk through and see the hard work that they've put in. And it really does take all fourth quarter, but it's well worth the time and effort and chaos that it sometimes feels like when everybody's got trifold boards projects going on at the same time.